Well, hello, my patrons. Yes, this is Commander X16, and this is one of the newer dev versions. That's Dev 4. It's the latest version, like as in, I think this was sort of created in at the end of December, and it was assembled. And yeah, Kevin over at Text like sent it to me, and unfortunately got stuck for about a week in the bad weather that we were having. Well, the whole country was having, but Portland was snowed in. Snowpocalypse definitely happened. But I've had this, I think, since yesterday or maybe the day before. No, wait, I got it yesterday, and I haven't had much time, but it is plugged in, connected up. In fact, right now it is not connected up to a, what you would think just a normal LCD monitor. I have it hooked up to my KVM here. Oops, that zoom doesn't very work very well. But yeah, there's a KVM switch right there. So it's hooked up to my Model M and a real, honest to God VGA monitor. Let me load a piece of software. This here, if we load this and we run. Oh, that just crashed. Well, 1 second. Okay, let's try this again. I think I was trying to show something here which hasn't been seen. Yes, it is a port of Marble Madness, the Nintendo game. This controller is actually connected. Sorry, I'm just doing this all one-handed here. Marble Madness for the NES. Yeah, that's it. Um, it's pretty wild what this thing can do. I think everyone has seen David Murray's port of Super Mario Brothers, which actually uses one of the original ROMs. I think he's using like an NES file, and it patches it. I'm not exactly sure. This one looks a little bit different. I think someone else did this, but this is definitely the Nintendo game. And if I push on the controller here, it works flawlessly. I have the speakers turned down, but the I played through several levels of this. The graphics and the sound is perfect on it. Anyways, the reason why I'm showing this, I wanted to, well, I'm going to be making a video about the X16, and I wanted to ask if there's anything specific that my patrons, that's you, want to know about this latest revision of the machine. I think from a hardware perspective, this is the final version, or there's if there might be some small bug fixes, but I don't think anything major is going to be changing on this design. So there's probably some software issues because I've already found. I mean, not that I've found. I doubt I've found. I'm the first one to find it, but I've noticed. Well, I've encountered a couple issues like in the kernel, just some weirdness even in BASIC that some software fixes are probably going to be needed. But generally, this thing is working really well. The hardware is working great. I have a Pico ATX plugged into it there, and yeah, it has got VGA out there, SD card. Does have, if I turn around here, two Super Nintendo game ports. So there's actually support for four. The other two are available as headers on the board. This is a regular IEC port, and it does work. I've tested it using my SD IEC, but you can plug a disk drive in. Currently, it's not using a fast loader or anything like that, so it's pretty slow. It's the same speed as it would be on a Commodore 64. But yeah, what else is there to talk about? PS2 mouse and keyboard, which is how it's going through my KVM. I don't have the mouse hooked up, but it does support the mouse. Audio output is a 3.5-inch jack right there. As I mentioned, there's the composite video and S video. I will have, there's some issues with that. It works, but I'm not happy about it. And I'll talk about that in the final video. Expansion slots. There's already work on a cartridge that will go in that slot. So basically, I think later versions of this, like cost reduced ones, will only have one slot, and it will be a smaller motherboard as well, like without as much RAM. It says 2 megs of RAM on it, and you just plug like a card into there in the shape of a cartridge. It will look almost just like a regular NES cartridge, and the thing will auto boot right into a game, and it will allow it to be kind of instant load of large games. But also, if you don't have all the RAM installed and you have a game that has a lot of storage on the SD card, it has nowhere to go if you don't have 2 megs of RAM. So that's where the cartridge can actually benefit you, because you can have a lot of ROM and it just maps straight in. Anyhow, what else is there to talk about this thing? Oh, it's got a microcontroller that handles power on, off, and reset and stuff. You can even use a command from BASIC to turn the computer off. It does have a clock battery there with a real-time clock. got some NVRAM. Doesn't seem to be working right now. Like you should be able to customize a few things like the color and the text size and stuff like that, and then save it, and it should recall that. But yeah, that's it. That's the X16, and it works really well. I'm going to hit the reset button here, and there it is, back at the prompt. Obviously, we're in 40 columns mode. You can push a key on the keyboard here to switch between different modes, and yeah. Anyways, so please let me know in the comments here for this post what you'd like to know about this thing. What kind of things should I talk about when it comes to the X16 in the final video? I'm not going to be able to make it this weekend because I'm going to be out of town. But hopefully next week I'll be able to get to this, because I'd really like to kind of show this thing off and talk about it from a more technical perspective. And Kevin, who really designed most of the motherboard layout and all that stuff, with the help of some other people, he will share with me anything or answer any questions. So please feel free to ask from a technical perspective, all sorts of things. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just pretty excited about this project. I know, there's a lot of people who think it's going to be overpriced or it's not that interesting, but I think it's pretty cool. I think what's really exciting for me about it is that, it's using actual 5-volt TTL through-hole chips on there. There's a regular 6502 there. It's running at 8 megahertz. There's regular VIAs. There's regular SRAM. There's a flash ROM chip. I mean, it's... there is a PIC microcontroller on here. I think it's a PIC, or there may be an AT Mega on there. But, it's just regular logic chips. And it's got an IEC port that you could plug a disk drive into it, a Commodore disk drive. It's all really cool. It feels like it's so much like an old computer. It's not just tiny surface mount chips that's like completely removed. It's not just an FPGA that's emulating the whole thing. This is the real thing. It's actually a real 6502. I could take a 6502 out of an old Apple IIe and stick it in here and it would work. I mean, probably won't run at 8 megahertz, but if I set the board to run at 2 megahertz, that'll work. How cool is that? The only thing that's modern, of course, is this card here. That's the Vera. And this thing has, of course, a tiny little FPGA. It's just the ever so smallest chip there that's handling the video output, all the like sprites and scaling and that kind of stuff. It also has, I think, 16 channels of sound, or 8 channels. I think it's 16 channels of sound, and obviously the SD card there. So that's what that thing is doing. But it still has a Yamaha FM synthesis chip there, so old school stuff. It's very similar to what would be used in arcade machines like Outrun. In fact, let me just load something up real quick. This is a music player. Turn the speaker up. I think it's pronounced Calliope, something like that. And it plays these files that have been converted from all sorts of other formats into a format that this thing supports. So we can play this. I recognize this. This is a mod file or an S3M file, or maybe it's an XM file that's been converted into the format that this uses. And you can see here, these are the FM synthesis channels up at the top. They're not actually being used. I don't know why they're all green. These are the digital channels here. And you can see the CPU usage. This is actually a graph from 0 to 100%. And it's barely using anything to play this stuff. If we go over here to Sega, and we go to like Sonic, we go to like Green Hill. Here's like the Sonic the Hedgehog music from the game on the Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive, that is. And it sounds perfect. And just like on the real Sega Genesis, it's got FM synthesis, plus it has some other sound channels on a different sound chip, and those are being emulated by the PSG, which is on the Vera, the FPGA card. But yeah, so anyways, it's just kind of cool. It has great sound capabilities, and obviously the graphics capabilities are kind of on par with probably a Mega Drive or Sega Master System, but of course it's all being driven from an 8-bit processor as opposed to a Motorola 68000, because that's the power of this little Vera board here. Anyways, so yes, this was supposed to be like a 30-second video. I've gone on way too long. Please ask questions or let me know what you want me to talk about, and I can investigate. or just sort of topics you'd like me to cover in the video, that it will be on the main channel for everyone else to see. And yeah, that's it. One thing I can't say is when this thing will actually be out for general consumption, but it's really exciting that these dev boards are going out to people, people who are involved in the project and other software developers and things like that. That means that software will start to get created that will, work and be tested on the real hardware, not just on the emulator. But already there's quite a number of, not a lot, but maybe about 10 games or so. A few of them are made by David Murray himself and then other people as well. And it's pretty impressive what you're getting out of this thing, I have to say. So anyways, yeah, it's really exciting. I think it's exciting. And, I'm glad I was able to kind of be a sounding board for Kevin over at Tech Select when he had little design issues, like he ran into problems. I made that video a while back of like the prototype board I helped him with some troubleshooting on. And then throughout the, this cycle, it's been quite a while here. This thing has been in development, but I helped him work on a lot of the stuff that handles the PS2 keyboard interface. There were a lot of problems with that early on, and also the power on circuit and stuff. We sort of bounced ideas off each other. He's a novice at this stuff, as am I. So, we're no engineers. But it's amazing that Kevin has created something right here that is a working, powerful 8-bit computer. Anyhow, yes, ask questions. Oops, I'm tripping over things on the floor. Ask questions. And yeah, let me know what you think, and I will make a full video, a proper video on this. Okay. Everyone have a great night, and thanks for all your support. Bye.